Hello, my name is Sean Ennis from Ennis Management. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share this video. And for all of your promotion and marketing needs, be sure to go to ennistalentmanagement.com or email ennisproductions@gmail.com. Today I'm joined by a very special guest, a talented singer-songwriter from Maine, Neon Gypsy. Hello, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on your program. This is awesome. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
So you have a beautiful stage name. How did you decide on that stage name?
I was actually listening to another song on the radio. Well, there's a bunch of reasons. First one is that I'm a fine artist as well as a musician, and because of that whole connection, I've had very very powerful and graphic dreams that are almost like paintings. And so when I dream, since I was very, very little, I just see a ton of images that are coming through my dreams that are very descriptive. And a lot of them have been about gypsies for some reason. So I've been doing a lot of work around that and the meaning of it. And that's been with me throughout my entire life. And I was listening to a song on Pandora, and there was a line in one of the songs about Neon Gypsy. Somebody saying, "You're my neon gypsy." And neon gypsy to me meant, somebody who hangs in places most often that have neon light, for one, playing their music. And the whole gypsy thing kind of came together from my dreams and this really interesting kind of eclectic feel that gypsies tend to bring with them. When you think of gypsies, they're almost traveling spiritual vagabonds. They travel along their way, gather up treasures, and their experiences along the way. And that's how my music has been, gathering musicians and friends and ideas wrapped into the whole Neon Gypsy name. So,
That's wonderful. I really like that. And so I'm not familiar with fine arts. Would you mind explaining that?
yeah, I actually went to school in college and got a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree, which means 4 years or 5 years of just studying fine art, whatever your medium has to be. So I graduated cum laude with a fine art background in painting. Painting. I worked with abstracts and oils and things of that nature as an artist.
And how do you feel that your experience and talent in the painting medium has affected your music?
Well, I'm a very visual person, so everything that I see in my brain may not be as descriptive as someone else's. I tend to personally feel things on a very deep level, on a very spiritual level almost. So my fine art and my music are expressives for me, which to me means that I am able to really pour a lot of passion, a lot of emotion into my art, which is either my music or the actual fine art. So it's really influenced a power and a driving force behind anything that I do in music or art to bring forth a real genuine feel.
That's excellent. And I was looking over just some of the information that you sent over to me before we started the interview, and I was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Are you originally from Massachusetts as well?
I am. I'm originally from Western Mass, Clinton area, which is kind of near Bolton. I always associate Bolton, and there's a beautiful orchard out there called Bolton Orchards. So it was a very nice kind of country, small town that I grew up in until I was about 6.
And can you kind of take us through the journey of starting in Massachusetts and then what brought you to you're currently in Maine?
Yes. Yep, Falmouth, Maine. Yeah, we lived in Massachusetts. I was born there. My entire family basically lived on the entire street, and it was the place where my entire family basically lived. And my family decided, more out of dealing with some trauma in the family system, that we were going to jump in a car in the middle of midnight and pack a few things, 2 cats, and drive to Montana. basically just kind of starting a new life. So we drove to Montana for 9 days, of where we settled. We didn't have any plans of where we were going to live. We found a beautiful home out in Montana. I experienced amazing nature out there, rode in the Omoxies on horseback, doing barrel racing and pole bending, and we ended up moving back to New England, to New Hampshire, but this time we actually rode in the back of a exposed pickup truck, and my brother and I sat in the back of a pickup truck on the highway and back roads from Montana, 9 days, all the way to back to New England, again, of where we settled in New Hampshire in the White Mountains. So we traveled much like gypsies. And again, I think that's where the neon gypsy has come from, is that our lives were very raw. They were very experiential in that we were living kind of on the edge as a family and traveling, and finally found my home in New Hampshire for many years. I went to Plymouth State College for a little while and then transferred over to Maine, where I've lived for over 15 years. So I'm now in the Portland, Maine area.
And growing up, did you take any lessons to play any sort of instruments or any vocal lessons?
Everything I do is by sight and sound. I have never had any lessons. Anything that I have learned formally, I have taught myself. And back in those days when I was starting to learn, we didn't have Google. We didn't have personal computers, really. We just bought books and went to the music store. And my biggest influences were actually my family that started in Massachusetts, where every one of them almost was a musician, and all of them were self-taught. And basically we all kind of learned by ear. So we would all sit around with different instruments. Sometimes we'd even swap the instruments and just try them out. And the way that I learned was through trial and error. And that's kind of how the rest of my family learned as well. And it was the passion that was driving the learning, but it's all self-taught.
I find that extremely interesting. Can you talk a little bit more about being from a family of musicians?
I think that everyone has the potential to be creative, and whether you're a musician or artist or graphic designer, whatever you are, it's just your choice poison, so to speak, So the musicians in my family, and what it means is that you do either have it or you don't. You can't just make yourself one day be a musician. You can't just one day wake up and say, I am going to be a football player. You are or you are not, and it is there. And so it was born into our family, whether it's genes, whether, however that comes about. And the people who it really has resonated with, it's stuck with, whether they have the said talent or not, it's still in their lives. So, yeah.
And
I don't know if that answers your question.
And do you have a earliest memory involving music?
Earliest memories are, again, family in Massachusetts. Most often it was holidays and or family gatherings. And my grandfather played the guitar. He was self-taught. My grandmother played the Hawaiian guitar for a little while. She also played the accordion. And aunts and uncles also played a variety of things, from mandolins to percussion, harmonica. And those memories were built around the holidays, all sitting around enjoying each other, and pretty much ad-libbing, improv style, to playing music. And everyone, if they weren't playing music, they were singing. So that was pretty cool.
And what genre of music do you consider your work to be?
I've thought a lot about that, and I'm currently coming up with a slash version of rock slash folk blues fusion, is all I can say. It's a fusion of three things, really. And the only thing that sometimes stops me is my own skills, my own skill set, because a lot of the things that will be coming out in the Neon Gypsy band, once we formulate the full band, you'll be finding a lot more rock coming out in the songs that are kind of underlying there, but you as a listener are not hearing it yet because that's not my personal skill set. So you will be hearing much more rock, blues, fusion in my work in the future.
And it sounds like you got a very early start and introduction into music. How long have you been practicing your craft?
The early start was definitely just noodling around and getting comfortable around instruments and being able to pick them up and not know what to do with them at a very early age of, say, 5, being around that all my life with family. I didn't really start to pick up an instrument until I was about 13. And at that point, again, it was all self-taught. I was familiar with the instruments, and I think the biggest hurdle with anything is that self-judgment can stop you from exploring to the point where you find passion enough to want to learn more. And so for let my interest or curiosity in, say, a guitar or a piano, stopping me from making mistakes or wrong notes so that it stopped me from exploring and learning more. So I would say really at the age of 13 and in my teens is where I really started to pick up the instrument beyond just plucking away and maybe experimenting with sound. I really started writing songs and formulating chords and learning more at that point.
Who are your major influences?
Trace Bundy, he's an acoustic artist. I'm never really familiar with their entire backgrounds, but Trace Bundy is one. Mitch King is another artist who works a lot with open tunings. He's a young, he looks to be in his maybe 30s or so. He works a lot with acoustic guitar, open tunings that resonate some really great harmonics and levels that are different than just standard playing and tuning. The John Butler Trio is another. You have the complete opposite of the spectrum. I've always loved Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, Steve Vai, people like Tony Levin, the bass players, down to B.B. King, Sippy Wallace, Bonnie Raitt, Grace. The lists are really, really diverse.
And what about the people you just named influenced you?
For the women, it was the strength in their because I didn't always have the confidence to actually sing. I was a rhythm and backing vocals person for very many years because I just didn't have the confidence to let my voice out enough to see what I had. And so I really enjoyed Bonnie Raitt, Sippy Wallace from the 1940s, Grace Potter, even people like Madonna as far as vocalists go. From the 80s, all have confidence. That's one thing they all have in common. And that's what's inspired me with them. As far as the playing with Joe Satriani and those 90s kind of shredding bands, I've really enjoyed listening to the multitude of ways you can make an instrument sing. And even though my skill level may not be there, I'm often thinking about the dynamics that brings to a song. So they've brought me dynamics. There's people like B.B. King or Grace Potter, and inspired by their soul to their songs. I always try to bring forth in my music.
And what made you want to be an artist?
Again, I was surrounded by artists, my family in music, but if they needed anything in their life, instead of buying it, they would make it. It was a form of being creative and expression again. And so me being an artist, whether it was fine art or music, it is a deep need and desire to be able to express myself in this way because that is my highest resonance. I am in my best state when I am expressing myself in a very visceral way. That connectivity is art and music.
Can you?
First time performing, I guess, would have been in college, in a college band. One of the professors was actually the lead singer. He had a bunch of students that would play with him. Any given time, there could be anywhere from 3 to 11 performers on stage. Again, it was more an improv type of feel. Whoever was there, we'd point them out and be like, "Did you bring your instrument? Come on up." It was very welcoming and friendly. And I really gained a true confidence in college, really playing out locally at some of the local venues there, performing and just being comfortable with knowing you're sharing a gift for everyone else.
Describe your music.
first and foremost, think of soulful. Whether or not it's soul or not is beyond that. Soulful, again, a blues role. I feel that it has strength and passion in my voice. I do believe there's into that as well. And so currently I am a singer-songwriter within those set genres. But that dynamic will also be changing as we bring of what we got. So,
Could you briefly describe the music making process?
for me, it's probably different for everyone. For me, life experiences have triggered certain matters. Mostly the lyrics for me come to my mind. It might just be a saying, it might just be a phrase or a word that I usually start with, and then the music writing comes later. Oftentimes, because I'm interested in poetry and writing, I write a lot of lyrics before it actually has a music, and then I will write the music for the lyrics.
Where have you performed?
In college, we performed at local venues. It was called the Beer House at that time. I had a really great time recently as I've just reconnected with music 2 years, playing a venue at, say, the Portland House of Music, which was an incredible venue, incredible sound. We were one of a few bands there that did a huge benefit when the lead singer died for the Cranberries. That was an amazing venue. We've played at some, just the other day, we played in front of the City Hall in the Bath. We have played it live at 212 in Westbrook, Maine, which is a very, it's an all-original venue, normally reserved for, say, rock and metal, but we got to play there a few times as well with our venue. A bunch of places in Portland, and, mics are fabulous. Sharing yourself with the community of musicians. I have done almost every open mic that you go to in this area, and that has been also a great experience, even though we still have our own gigs that we're doing outside of that too. We also played at Empire, played at Brewing Company, so tons of places.
And what is it that you enjoy performing at open mics?
Open mics are a great opportunity, even if you are a seasoned musician or just beginning, to develop a community around music. Everyone is there to share what they have and experience it with other musicians. And I love the no pressure situation of really making connections and actually, friendships with the people, because we are all there with one in common, and that's music. No matter what you play, what you sound like, what your talent is or skill levels, I am gained out of them.
What are the main themes or topics of most of your songs?
Most of my music has been derived from experiences wrapped around love and life, relationships mostly. Also, the fact that because I do feel I'm a lot of creative people, when they are highly creative, they often feel a little separated out or misunderstood. And until you find those people who are also in that realm where they can kind of understand you. So a lot of my stuff is wrapped around those challenges of being understood, whether it's in life or love. Some of it's heartbreak. And then it's about things like abilities are in the world, about what's behind this other world, what's behind our dreams and things of that nature.
And how do you feel that your music has evolved?
So my music has evolved. Again, mentioned confidence. I started out being a very meek player and sinking into the background. So I have evolved mostly with confidence. I have evolved with really not putting too much weight into what people think of it. So about what I really want to express. I do feel my talent has come away with my skill set in singing because of giving it my all. So I think my singing has improved, my playing has improved, and there's always room for it to improve more. But evolving, I would say, would be more in the skill set, and also confidence would be huge when you're performing.
About your upcoming album and EP?
Sure, it's going to be based off of about 5 songs. 5 songs. I've been to discussion with the members that we're solidifying them, bringing these songs were written, some of them 15 years ago, and have been in a book since then, and just cracking open now and being explored, which is the capsule. So I have a foundation of how I will be playing these songs. And again, down love, life, relationships, struggles, challenges, and selves of real life. And really, really looking forward to adding electric guitar. We're going to be adding Ed to this. We're going to be adding a drummer, obviously, and a bass player that's also really proficient. So we're going to be adding a lot of tightness to this, more of a rocking kind of that I think are really going to even, if not dancing, just really connecting to the dynamics that we're going to be providing in this EP.
Challenge in your music, and how do you feel you've been able to overcome that challenge?
Biggest challenge is finding people that you can resonate with, and I keep saying resonate because musical life is it's an endeavor where you really do need to click and work and have similar views on things, where have it to be a real finding people to play with has been a challenge, because you need that type relation, even a band. Challenging to find people along the way that agree with that vision as well. There is time and the realities of life, work, and making it all happen when most times you're not getting paid, and just getting that dynamic to all gel.
Ultimate direction for your music career?
I like to stay open a little bit vision, because I find when people need to plan about being rock stars and pinning down what success means to them, that's when they start getting stuck and they're going nowhere. So my visions are pretty general: to have fun, to people who are listening to music, and 3, new experiences and exploring within the music, truly, because if you don't have that in your band, nobody is going to enjoy watching you play. Ultimately, I enjoy experiences and that kind of gypsy mentality of traveling, seeing new places, and experiencing these road trip music, meeting. For me, it's not just getting a gig. I love to meet the people I'm going where we play. I love to see about, and I make so it's really a package for me. I would love to see us on the radio. That's one solid path. I would love to be able to do reasonable sort of traveling to different states and exposing people to our awesome EP that's going to be coming up. So those are a few things that are solid, and just loosely focusing on this.
What advice do you have?
Again, the whole theme of being passionate about what you do, confidence is key, and following through with immersing yourself in as many avenues of learning about music that you can. Being an instrument that something that you enjoy and connect with, because there's so many people out there that eventually they'll find their instrument, but find the one that you are really passionate about as you can in the musical. They'll also bring about challenges to you to help you grow in your skill set, in your confidence, and definitely reach out to the mics in your areas and do as much as you can, from music programs and schools to your community.
And can you share your social media links?
I have 2 pages actually. It's just strictly musician, and then I do have another that's it's a little confusing, but it is also named Neon Gypsy. But you will find we can provide some links for. I can also be found online at Artist Called and on YouTube, and I can provide links to all those. I like YouTube, where I share also enjoy link.
Is there anyone you'd like to acknowledge for offering emotional or financial support?
I am a single mom. I have a whole nother, and finances are extremely tight. And there are how I'm even going to get the EP rolling, because it's just extremely important that if you don't have supports out there with financial, definitely find the emotional supports. My emotional supports, for instance, are my family and all those connections that I've met talking with those people. So I feel if you do want to break into the music industry, it's extremely important to a friend different than your other friends or family, because they are going to help you how you hit a lot of times that can help you through that. As far as financial support, I want to find us and decide that we are value and that they may. Then it's our passion way to do it and make it real.
And is there anything else you'd like to wrap up?
I just wanted to mention the huge importance, and in particular, music. Music is a great gift for people dealing almost as a way to cope with times. And so, music, the art, all the creative can for people out there. There's a lot of people that are maybe lost or not knowing what to do. Music, the arts, are always are to people, and it brings you closer to knowing people that music is a healer as well. We all listen to it on a variety of levels, whether it's on the radio, whether you play it, something somewhere out there in almost any song where you can relate and feel a part of this world on the days where you're not feeling so hot about being a part of this world. So I just want to always remind people to find music and the creative arts as a way to find yourself and to be connected.
Very well said. And I'd like to give a very big thank you to my guest today, Neon Gypsy. My name is Sean Ennis from Ennis Management. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and share this video. And for all of your promotion and marketing needs, be sure to go to ennistalentmanagement.com or email ennisproductions@gmail.com.